What's up, you guys? So today in this video I want to basically break down all of the 5 levels of the DMT experience that I personally feel is sort of the map or the territory that I want to outline for this. Other people might have a different opinion. This is kind of just based on people that I've talked to over the years and my own experiences, and I've just sort of compiled it into something that can give sort of a general guide or a bit of a map on what exactly is happening throughout these stages of the DMT flash or breakthrough. How I sort of put this out is I've arranged it into 5 categories, and for the first 3, I'll give a estimated dose range. It now can vary for person to person based on the purity of their product, depending on how much plant fats it has, what kind of extraction method they used, so on and so forth. You just want to have a ballpark for this specific topic. So stage 1 is around 10 or 15 milligrams or so, and method either in a oil pipe, some sort of vape. I specifically prefer bongs, but it's just whatever you prefer. And also, it can be a little bit different based on method of delivery, but that's another topic for another video, so I won't get into that. So the first thing that I want to describe in stage 1 is tessellating patterns in the open eye visuals. So these are just going to be your typical patterning and change in complexity and simple forms, usually lining on the walls or carpets and things like that. If you remember Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, when he was walking around on acid and he was seeing the carpets move in a strange way, it's kind of like that, but it's more dimensionality and more patterning and more math related. So in the closed eye visuals, you're experiencing something that kind of looks like a ancient structure of some sort, and it feels as if it almost has a presence to it, but it quickly kind of dissipates, and it's hard to really make out and sort of see really big details of what it looks like. But it doesn't last long, and then you're right out of there, and then you're pretty much back to baseline. So stage 2 is around 15 or 20 milligrams, and this is definitely, it comes off as a stronger tessellation on the open eye visuals, so again on walls and again carpets. Surroundings will start to feel kind of foreign and ancient and kind of alien in a certain sense. But it's not going to be anything that is overwhelmingly, I guess, evident that it's something else. In the closed-eye visuals, it's going to be kind of the same thing. You're going to see a structure or some weird blocky entity form, but this time it's going to be clearer, and it's going to start to embody a specific character or motif. For me, usually it's clown-like or jester-ish. It kind of reminds me a lot of the aesthetic in Reboot, if you remember that show back on YTV, I believe it was. At this stage, you're kind of almost like watching a movie or looking through a window. You're kind of a spectator, so you're not actually in the play, but you're starting to see weird ancient rooms and hieroglyphic type Egyptian symbols and everything. They basically form through a process that's described as hallucinatory form constants. You know, when you press on your eyes or rub them and you start to see patterns. It's similar to that, only those start to construct actual objects, and they can look very energetic and alive and very dynamic. So at this stage, it would be considered a sub-breakthrough, so not a full breakthrough experience. It's not going to be what everyone is talking about when they say that they've gone to the realm. And now for stage 3, I'm not going to bother giving a dose range. It's just going to be anything higher than the other ranges that I've listed. So this is going to be a true breakthrough tier 1. So at this stage, objects in the room start to become alive, or at least seem alive, and I think a lot of this has to do with the pareidolia effect. If you look at certain objects, they'll have faces, and it'll feel as if you have anthropomorphized it. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but yeah, it becomes very alive in a very real sense, or at least you feel it in that sense. The closed-eye visuals are pretty much impossible to describe, but it seems as if it's kind of driven by a hum or a frequency, and that can often turn very musical in its rhythm, or it can have multi-layers to it, so it's a very in-depth and very there's a huge amount of information and stimulus that's happening. So it's almost a sensory overload, to be honest. And then here you start to move through pretty ancient alien-looking type spaces, and they feel almost circusy. And also you're basically moving through hallways and it's full of stuff that you've never seen before, but there's also entities that are coming out of the crevices inside the hallways, and they're going in and out, and they can sort of move their arms and kind of wave at you, but you can't really make out what they look like. They're just sort of figures that have this very ancient and almost dislocated feel to them. So stage 4 basically has the same stuff at the stage 3 things, but there's a bit more to it. Basically, you start to feel as if you are transcending through levels of hyperspace when you close your eyes. You feel as if you're on an elevator and you're moving closer and closer to some sort of destination that you're starting to feel is it's on the horizons of in a certain way. And in this stage, the open-eye visuals can become basically so immersive that they become alive, and you actually believe that they're alive, and objects actually, I don't know if they pop into existence, but they kind of, they distort whatever the things that you're looking at in such a way that it just becomes something completely different, and it becomes something real. It's at this stage where you can start to have contact with things that can be described as self-governing, autonomic personality, maybe. It's hard to really explain what they are, but it's definitely something that's reported and stuff that I've had experiences with, so it's I'm definitely going to leave it in that tier list. And then stage 5 is something that I basically will call the ultimate truth. So this is basically, I like to call this almost the kind of control room or the control deck of the Starship Enterprise or something. It's something where the captain is sitting, and here you basically learn some sort of lesson in a certain way, or there is some sort of philosophy thing that it reveals to you, and usually it's through entity contact or an internal dialogue with some sort of presence. What they kind of say is hard to explain, but because it's very abstract how they give the information. They use a lot of metaphors and they use a lot of analogies, so you kind of have to use your brain to kind of figure out what they're saying. But it's also very very straightforward too, in a certain sense. It's vague, but it's straightforward. But often the message is that 0 is equal to infinity. It's kind of like a strange loop concept, and you start to make a lot of connections with black holes and singularities, and there's just something that we can't really put our words to that is learned there, that we can kind of sort of dance around it. We can move around the event horizon of this black hole, but you can only really step through it and really understand exactly what that is. So that doesn't necessarily come at a dose. That comes more at just experience and constantly exploring DMT. That's basically where it climaxes at, or that's the main vein, or where it's heading, if you want to explain it in that sort of sense. It can vary from person to person exactly how many times you'll need to experiment before you reach there, but that is just a typical I guess breakdown of what I think the top level is. But other people might disagree. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. But yeah, that's been my breakdown. I think that at least some people might like it. I think that it's accurate, at least for my experiences, but, you know, just let me know if you guys have different experiences and we can talk about it. So I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, guys.